Now this is something quite special. It's the flagship of the Jeanneau Cap Camarat range. It's the 12.5 WA. Prices start from 197,000 euros. But this boat, as you see it in the water, is a whisker under 300,000 excluding VAT. Let's have a look around, shall we? Now you can't help but notice the three Yamaha 300 horsepower V6s hanging off the transom. You can have twin 425s if you prefer, however these are actually slightly cheaper to buy and more efficient according to Jeanneau. Top speed 45 knots, you can comfortably cruise at 40 knots where you've got a range of about 175 miles. If you drop it down to 30 knots you're talking 250 miles of range. It's got a 1200 litre fuel tank. There's some really clever stuff going on this boat though, so let's get on board and have a closer look. Obviously because you've got outboards you have the split transom, so the bathing platforms aren't enormous. So to counter that, one of the key features of the 12.5 is that you have this folding terrace, which is actually inspired by Jeanneau's sailing boat range, because they have transoms that do this. They fold down to create bathing platforms. They thought, why not do it on the bulwarks of this boat? And as you can see, it creates this lovely terrace. You can slot a ladder in here. You can also put poles in there and rope them off, so it's a bit safer if you've got kids running around on deck. But the other effect is, as well as giving you a bit more deck space, if you're sitting out at sea in this position, it means you have a completely unbroken view out over the water, and it gives you a really nice flow around the boat. You can jump in off here, climb back in on the transom. There is also a ladder in this bathing platform. There has to be for regulations, which means you can access that if you go into the water and forget to put the ladder down. But yeah, this is a really nice feature. It's very simple, it's just a single ram, and you control it with this button here. It's a really good cockpit space. L-shaped seating. This actually folds flat, so you can create a sun pad back here, and you can make that even larger by dropping down the table. Obviously the table opens out. There's an infill cushion, and then you have a huge sun pad here, and there are some shade options too. You can have a built-in sunshade that powers out from the back of the hardtop, or you can have quite a simple canopy on some carbon poles slot into the deck here. You can't really use that when the boat's going along, but it's a bit of a cheaper way of having some shade back here. The built-in one, you can travel at sort of 30-40 knots with that extended if you need some shade when the boat's running along. And the hardtop is an option, but one that I'd imagine pretty much every customer will pick. It's a really nice insulation, lovely big secure stainless steel mountings either side. Not only do they obviously help hold up the hardtop, but they're a really nice thing to grab onto as you swing yourself into the helm. There's lots and lots of handholds on this boat. It feels really safe to move around on, which is key for a family boat like this. Now underneath here, obviously the engines are on the transom, so there's no engine underneath the deck, so this is just pure storage space on this boat. However, underneath that hatch down there you can have a Seakeeper SK3 if you want. This is also where the generator would go if you wanted to have a generator fitted, and even with a generator in there, there's still some space for storage. You'll see there's some catches in the deck here. That's because it's hinged at the transom. You'll see the three hinges there. You can access storage by just lifting up this lid, but the whole thing also lifts up to give you better access to the storage, because the life raft lives in there. Is also where the batteries are, so again, just gives you really good access if you need to get to them. Push that back down. And then we get to the wet bar, which is obviously very well positioned. It's in the middle of the boat, it's underneath the hardtop. And this boat, it's actually got twin sinks and then a grill on this side. But you can play around with this a bit, so you could lose the sink and have a stove here if you preferred. You can have a bait well. If you've got the generator, you can have a ceramic top here as well as the grill. So it really is a very flexible, usable space. Twin fridges as standard. You've got twin isotherm fridges. Really nice stuff. Bit of storage down here. That's where the bait well would go into if you go for the bait well option. Quite popular in America, I imagine. And you just got a bit of storage here, but you can have an ice maker there if you prefer. Pop these lids down. There's asymmetric decks on this boat, so the port side deck up to the foredeck is ever so slightly wider than the starboard one, but you can still get down the starboard side, which I like. You don't have to go across to the port side to get up to the bow, especially as the skipper. It means you can quickly get out the helm and get forward if you need to. The other thing is you have a boarding gate here, so you can open this up if you're going side two. Really easy way to get on and off the boat, and it means you don't always have to rely on getting off at the transom. It's a really nice helm station. I love the seats. They obviously have a lift bolster. The middle one slides forward and aft because that's in front of the steering wheel. You've got movable armrests on every single one, and it means that you can stand and drive really comfortably. You can really wedge yourself in, but if you're on a longer journey, you can put the seat squab down and sit back and enjoy the ride. Now, the other benefit of these Yamaha engines is you get all of the Yamaha electronic suite. So as standard, you get electric steering and you get autopilot, but you can upgrade to the joystick, and that works really, really well. It has a sort of sky hook option. They call it stay point on Yamaha. You press that button and the engines will move themselves around to keep the boat in the spot that you push the button in, so you know it's not going to drift around if you're putting the fenders on or waiting for a bridge or something. Fly-by-wire throttles, obviously, and if you see this button here, a bit like cruise control in your car, you can actually change the speed of the boat in increments of half a knot. So if you want to, instead of sort of jerking the throttles around if you're moving quickly, you push a button and you increase the speed by half a knot, and it holds it on that speed, much like cruise control. Of course, it's all seamlessly integrated to the Garmin instrumentation. There is a Yamaha screen down here, which is all about engine information, but there's also an app on the Garmin screen, so you've got all of your engine information displayed in here as well. This is actually on the Fusion stereo system at the moment, but you can go into charts, and you have the full Garmin suite in there. But it's nice that the engine information is so well integrated and really well presented on those screens. And the other nice thing is that you drive from the middle of the boat, so you've got a fantastic view forward. You're right in the middle. You can really easily see the bow. Obviously sight lines aft are really good as well, and you're raised up as well, so the view forward is very, very good indeed. It's nice that 3 passengers can sit in these comfy seats and all travel, keeping the skipper company. Practical dash as well. You've got some good deep cup holders, really good handhold. You've got storage here for loose items, and just a shelf that you can just chuck your phone on. That's quite handy. It would be nice to have a charging pad up here, but that's something you could add afterwards if you need to. Now, this is a really nice area of this boat. This deck feels really safe to walk down. You've got lovely high, well, they're not even tow rails, they're much higher than that, and really nice high guardrails as well, so you feel very safe and secure moving forward. And this is just a fantastic arrangement. You drop down into this well and you have these 3 wonderful sunbeds reclined with armrests. You've got cup holders, you've got your speakers up here. There is the option to have a table up here as well, and this little wrap of seating as well. Works so much better than just a flat sunbed. These are really, really comfortable. On a day like this, you want to soak up the sun, no better place to be. Really good deep anchor locker as well, electric windlass obviously. Yeah, as I said, you can still nip down the starboard side deck if you need to. The access is really good. Good view of the hardtop here as well, and that framework as well. Feels really secure out at sea. There's no wobbling or banging coming from the hardtop when you really open it up to that 45 knot top speed. Now, I think the really big surprise about this boat is the accommodation. Most people will probably use it as a day boat, but certainly if you're a couple, you could comfortably spend weekends, if not longer, on this thing, because the accommodation really is very impressive. Now, if you're just a couple, what you could do is leave the forward end in dinette mode and just sleep in here, which is what people would probably do. Headroom is restricted. It's absolutely fine on the entranceway. Loads of it, loads of headroom. But as you go down into the berth, obviously you're under the cockpit, so it's quite restricted, so really it is just sitting, crouching room only. However, you've got a lovely big berth. Those are some of the poles for the sunshade that I was talking about. Really nice big berth, storage over that side. You've got natural light and ventilation. You've got a little sofa here to sit on, because really you need to sit down as soon as you come in here. More storage on this side, and a bureau. Neat touch. And actually there's an infill cushion for this section here, so you can make the bed spread the entire width of the cabin, which is a really nice touch. But if you have guests on board, Then this table drops down, yet again there's infill cushions, table drops down into these slots here, and you have another really big double bed forward. But if you are boating and the weather turns and you can't live on deck, there's enough space down here that you could have breakfast down here, no problem. And you can sit really comfortably here at the dinette, headroom is good. And you have a really well-spec galley, considering what you've got on deck. It's a surprise to find such a well-spec galley down here. Nice deep sink. This boat's got twin burner gas hob, but you can have induction if you prefer. Bit of storage. This is a spot for a microwave, and you have even more cooling space down here, and the bin and more storage. Another final thing to note is that behind here you have a curtain, so you can draw that across and just have a little bit more privacy. Obviously it's not a solid partition, but it's just something, if you are using the forward cabin as a sleeping area, just adds an element of privacy. And then you have the bathroom, which is a really good size. Not only have you got a really good size separate shower cubicle with a proper door and not a curtain, again, headroom absolutely excellent. You've got natural ventilation up above your head, and there's natural light coming in through both of these ports as well. I like the finish here on the counter, and the toilet seat is hidden underneath this section here. It's all got some nice underlighting underneath it, and then there's just a little bit of storage under here. And there's even more at eye level. It's a really practical, well thought out family boat.